Amber, can we start the podcast now?
Oh my gosh. You see what I'm dealing with here?
Hey, everybody, and welcome to The Obvious Choice. If you've noticed, we actually renamed this podcast. We actually renamed this podcast like 3 weeks ago, but we record about 3 weeks in advance. The idea behind renaming it, as if you've been listening for a while, is I am coming out with a book. I'm writing a book at the moment. It's going to be a while, but the working title is The Obvious Choice, and it's about becoming the obvious choice to your clients. Clients obviously have almost infinite choice these days of who they want to work with. And there's a lot of things that you can do to become the obvious choice.
Hey, do I get half credit for the title? I didn't come up with the whole title, but I did come up with two out of the three words.
Okay. So Amber, we've worked together for a while. I think we established 5.5 years. My real wife calls you my work wife. And so as my work wife, I guess I'm going to tell you like how, and I'm surprised you don't know this about me yet, but like the key is to get credit for as many things as possible in this business. And so, do you get credit for it? I don't know, maybe an acknowledgement somewhere. Maybe
I'm partial. I just want verbal, because we had a bet going. That's why.
Okay.
Because between the three of us, he would come up with the title, and I came up with 2/3 of it. I just want my credit.
It was a mutual effort.
Yeah.
Mutual effort. Yeah. There's definitely not Facebook Messenger proof screen captures of that. So the episode that came out yesterday was the episode, what was it, 17, about artificial intelligence?
Yep.
Was that episode 17? And I had no idea what the response was going to be, right? I had no idea that whether people would care or not care, but, and I feel like people probably care more because ChatGPT has come out, and that's kind of taken the world by storm, where it's the first like real use case of artificial intelligence where people can ask this thing questions and it can give it prompts, and it can write them like full articles or status updates. And like most people are such bad writers that it actually writes better than them already. And this will just keep getting better and better and better. And anybody who's following it knew that this kind of artificial intelligence was coming, but it kind of like hit really, really hard, really, really fast. And so I think largely because that had just come out and like kind of taken the world by storm, I think that our episode on artificial intelligence was more popular than it would otherwise be. But what was interesting was that, and I got like tons of people messaging me about it. So if you haven't listened to it, episode 17, I go super deep into not artificial intelligence the way that you might be thinking about it, but more into how it's going to affect the fitness industry, how it's going to affect your job, and what job retraining and what skills are going to be more valuable as technology progresses. And for background, I actually looked at my Kindle. I wrote in the promotional stuff that I read 7 books on artificial intelligence in 2020. It was actually 9 because I looked through my Kindle because somebody asked me for the books. And I read 9 books in that early 2020, made a bunch of notes in it. I've been thinking about it a long time, and I've just never presented on it. So that was the first time I presented on it. But I want to talk about ChatGPT because a lot of people are like, yeah, I use ChatGPT and it doesn't build that good workouts now. It's like what ChatGPT does is it basically scans the net and then aggregates that and creates, material. So if it's going to create a workout, it's going to create a workout based off of what it sees on the internet. What I think, and this is where there was perhaps a little bit missing with that episode, what I think actually is going to happen in these algorithms, they're not going to be built by a system like ChatGPT. What's going to happen is the smartest like workout programmers in the world are going to be in charge of programming the algorithm. So it's not going to be an aggregation of everybody. It's going to be an aggregation of a chosen selection of the people who are best in the world at this thing. And that's how I think it's going to kind of evolve. So I wanted to just add that in to what I spoke about in episode 17 about artificial intelligence, about how these systems can build better programs already than 98% of personal trainers. I don't think that ChatGPT can build a better program than 98% of personal trainers right now. But I think an intelligently programmed algorithm would be able to very easily build a better program than the majority of personal trainers out there. And it's actually the same with nutrition coaching. It's the same with a lot of things. And that's just because a lot of this kind of stuff is actually kind of if then statements, calculations. Once the proper inputs are put into the machine, and a lot of what the humans are going to be in charge of is actually inputting the stuff into the machine, like the idea of, hey, what are your actual goals? You know, you say that you want to lose 5 pounds, but you don't actually know what 5 pounds means. And actually for your goal of looking better or feeling better or whatever it is, you actually need to gain 5 pounds. And so a human would be able to cycle through that information and figure out what the other human on the other side actually wants and input the right information to the machine, who would then be able to build a better program often than the human. And then the human can look at that program and either accept, reject, or individualize it. Ren, did you listen to that episode? My guess is you didn't, right?
No, I listened to 16 when I was in the gym today. So I didn't listen to 17.
So you didn't listen to it. Amber, did you get any feedback on the artificial intelligence? Do you see any of the feedback? I got a bunch of it. It was kind of what I expected, where a lot of trainers became very, very protective of their jobs. And we see this, I mean, I'm in some like copywriting communities and whatnot. And of course you see that it's like, oh, these things, it's like the South Park episode. It's like, they take our jobs. It's like, it won't take our jobs. We're good at our jobs. They won't take our artificial intelligence is coming to take our jobs. It's evil. It's bad. It will never be what we do. We're so good at what we do. And like, I don't think that that's true. I think that a lot of lesser qualified people, it will take their jobs. But it's not that the jobs will be eliminated. It's that they'll morph. And that's the biggest thing. So anyway, Ren, have a listen, man. I think you'd be interested in it. But I wanted to just bring that up about ChatGPT. Anything you guys want to talk about before I get into Jenna's coaching business? And what's the term? I'm trying to come up with language for this kind of stuff, and I suck at language with this. But where's Jenna? I called it the consult trap in the book. Getting Jenna out of the consult trap. So when it comes time for me to talk about that, if when I'm done, you can figure out a better name for what I'm talking about than the consult trap, I would love to hear it.
Go ahead.
No, please, you, Amber.
I only have one note really about the ChatGPT thing. A lot of coaches are using it for content, which is great, but also like make sure you're not just copying and pasting it, right? Like I see a lot of coaches that'll like put in a prompt in ChatGPT and then it's good for a source of inspiration, but like not to copy and paste, right? It still needs your voice. It still needs to be tweaked to suit your demographic, all of that good stuff. It still takes a lot of effort with any type of writing. The bulk of the work, which John will probably, back me up here, is the editing. It's not the writing, it's the editing of it. And so a lot of your time will actually be spent editing it to suit your purpose versus just copying and pasting it. So please don't copy paste your ChatGPT output.
Also, I mean, yes, but also, who gives a shit about your content? Like, can we maybe dwell on that a little bit? Like, if you're so random in how you're creating content that you're throwing in that prompt to an artificial intelligence engine that's new, which by definition means it's not even that good yet. I mean, artificial intelligence will get very good very quickly because it's exponential, but it's like this isn't going to be magic. This isn't going to like magically solve your problems. Like your problem is, I can almost guarantee you that your problem is not your content or lack of content or quality of your content. And God, I can't wait for this book to come out, because you're going to look at it and you're just going to be like, yeah, no, that's obviously like the amount of examples that I'm going to give you where it's like, obviously this is better than me using an AI engine to create shitty content just so I have content on my social media because I help women lose weight. How are you differentiated? Why would anybody choose you? I gave this example. We just had our bi-weekly mentorship hot seat meeting before this. And one of the things that I said is, you know, some of my friends are like growing some of the quickest, call it social media accounts in the fitness industry right now. I mean, they're growing like 100, 200,000 followers a month. The way that you grow that quickly is by pandering, is by simply repeating what people already think. It's by using what's called obvious content. It's by basically just figuring out either nice ways or very controversial ways to say things. And that's fine. I mean, I do some of it. I don't do the controversial stuff so much just because I don't have strong enough opinions where I care enough to argue with anybody. I got better things to do than that. But these are people who like are still to this day talking about how COVID was a scam, not because they care or they don't care about COVID being a scam, because they know when they talk about it, they get a big response on social media and an influx of followers. And fine, you do you, bro. It's just not a game that I want to play. But I know these people, and none of them can get clients. Because when you create the content to grow a social media account and content to get clients are two very different things. And I do think that at some point you need to grow, like if that's the game you're playing, and that doesn't have to be the game you're playing, but if that's the game you're playing where you want to get more eyeballs on you, then yeah, you need content that's going to go out and get more eyeballs on you, which is generally obvious content. You're going to repeat things people already think so that they share it as an articulation of their own thoughts, and they can go, wow, 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 look at me. I think this thing, and this other person thinks this thing the same as me. Or you say something with a strong opinion, and on one side, people say, whoa, 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 I have the same strong opinion. And on the other side, people still share it and say, look at this asshole. I think the opposite of him. Look at how smart I am because I'm smarter than this asshole. Like both of them actually create virality. And so, you know, maybe you could use that to create eyeballs, but it doesn't get clients. The content that gets clients is when you are able to articulate a non-obvious truth about what you do based off of your deep insight in a thing, that the minute that somebody hears immediately shows them that it's obvious the solution to their problem. And a non-obvious truth often is actually obvious to you, which is the weird kind of part about this, because we exist in communities of other fitness professionals. And so it's like, yeah, but everybody knows that. For example, I was talking to Tom about this, and Tom's whole thing is he basically helps people figure out ways to eat what they love on the weekends and still meet their physique goals. And so he said, you know, pizza, burger, sushi, beer. I was like, bro, your content is easy. Because that's the best, like, that's such an easy, non-obvious truth where people who work in fitness understand that for the majority of folks out there, it is actually an energy calculation. Now, there are outliers that are hormonal outliers and things like that for sure. But for most people, the 80-20 of it is an energy calculation, right? And so if you love pizza, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do an example where a medium Domino's pizza, a medium pizza, a medium Pizza Hut, a medium whatever, and just show the calories and just show like how this 205-pound person can get down to 188 pounds over the course of whatever, 6 months, 8 months, and still have a full medium pizza on the weekend. And here's exactly how this breaks down. That actually is a really good, and you could do that with burgers. You could do that, you know, here's how you eat 2 Five Guys burgers every weekend, or whatever, right? You could just like rip out that content all the time. That could be your thing if you wanted to. And that's a really good example of like a non-obvious truth that when somebody hears it, it makes sense. The general population doesn't really think about calories like that, but it's like, yeah, no, calories are energy, and if you consume less energy than you expend, then you lose weight usually. But it's obvious to people who work in fitness, but it's generally not to people who don't. And you're probably not, I mean, some of those like might go viral, but like probably not, but it's going to get you clients. that type of stuff. Why are we talking about this?
Chat
I don't know.
GPT sidewind.
Still on
Yeah.
that. You wanted to talk about it. So hey, tell us about Jenna's coaching business.
Can I get a break for a second? You guys talk about something.
We stalling. I'll give you my 2 cents on Chat GPT. I really don't care. It's
good. I'm ready to go.
You done? All right. Good talk.
But you have something to say? I'd love to hear it if you have something to say, but if you're stalling, then you don't actually care.
I was stalling, but in the midst of my stall, I came, so I've never known in terms of coaching, right? I've never known logic to be the reason why people adhere to coaching suggestions. That's not going to replace. And I'm sure we'll get very intelligent. I saw a diagram today about the intelligence level of generation 4 of GPT 3 versus 4 and how exponentially intelligent it'll get and the exponential degree to which it will learn, and it'll learn how to get faster.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you're dealing with humans in any way, there is very limited amount of logic that turns the needle for them. They don't act out of logic. You really need to understand. I feel like you need to understand the humanity of the human in order to be able to properly lead them in the direction that they go. And logic's always been there. It's always been logical. Hey, stop smoking or your rate of lung cancer is going to increase dramatically. You show the charts, you show the information, and people go home and smoke. It's not logic's not a motivator for change. It's just not. So I'm unconcerned. That's my 2 cents.
So on all of the packages here in Mexico, there are labels that says exceso calories, exceso azúcar, and exceso sodio.
Yeah, sugar and salt.
And it's just so funny. It's like excessive sugar, excessive salt, is what these packages mean. It's like, ain't nobody not gonna buy this. If anything, it's like, oh, wait, that has excessive. Yeah, those are the chips I want.
I didn't want it until I knew what that meant, and now I really want it.
If anything,
that's where your fingers go.
Yeah, if anything, that they should say not enough salt, and then people wouldn't buy it. Right. No, but that's true. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's content. We talk so much about content on this podcast, which shows you kind of the problem, because it's what everybody seems to be thinking about. And I just don't think it should matter for most people. I really don't. Or I think that there are better ways to use it. Another guy in my mentorship, his name's Mike. He's in Toronto, and he specializes in working with basically wealthy, like professional men in the city. And he's done really well. He was a high-end personal trainer for a lot of years. So he's linked in with the network, and they do like 20 to 30,000 a month. Like he does well, and he's looking to grow that. Right. And he was talking about how he's going to build an email newsletter, and then he's going to do a podcast. And so what we talked about in the hot seat today was like, what his newsletter is going to be about. And he brought up, longevity being a thing, and the biohacking community being a big thing for his people, which kind of makes sense. Biohacking is, and this is my opinion, everybody, of course, because it's my podcast, so I'm allowed to say it. My belief is that biohacking is a thing that bored rich people do because they don't have anything else to do. It actually means very little. And if you actually understand like what most people are really doing when they biohack, it really makes very little to no impact. It just means that the package of the shit that they buy just costs 3 times more. But that's cool. Sit in a bucket of ice if you want, bro. And so, it's fine if that's what you want to do. Anyway, that's what these people are into, which is totally fine. You can buy you can stick your bucket of butter in your coffee if you want. And so, and then of course the coffee that you're going to buy costs 5 times more than it should, for absolutely no reason other than the guy removed something from the coffee, like a fungus from the coffee that's removed from every single coffee that's ever been processed ever. But he was smart enough to market it and then scared you about all other coffees, which don't have this fungus anyway. Thanks, Dave Asprey. And so, this is my opinion, of course, my podcast. And so the idea behind this, though, with Mike, what I said to him was, Toronto's obviously a big city. There's a lot of business in Toronto. I actually think that the biggest opportunity right now, and it's interesting to me because this is coming out in my work more and more and more, and I'm kind of going with it. And one of the things that I love so much about writing books, even though I told myself I was never going to write another book, one of the real reasons why I write books is that the process of writing a book helps me understand what I'm thinking so much more. And oftentimes when I begin writing a book, I have a general idea of what I want to write about, but I don't really, I haven't really dove into that yet. I haven't really meditated on that thing yet. And as I do this more and more with this book, with this obvious choice book, I realize just how much more I believe that the greatest opportunity and the best path forward for so many people, for so many coaches today, are community initiatives, local initiatives. And I'll give you the example that I give to Mike, is actually to build, instead of doing an email newsletter for wealthy men, instead of doing an email newsletter for biohackers, instead of doing an email newsletter for fitness and trying to make it as big as possible, what I said is, how about you do an email newsletter for the Toronto male biohacking community? And Toronto is rate limiting, of course, but Toronto is a big city. You're going to have enough business in Toronto. Because what you're able to do then, once you have that, is now you can call up the meditation pod place in Toronto. What are those things called? The sensory deprivation centers in Toronto. You could call up the owner of those, and you can get some information from them, and then you could feature them in your Toronto newsletter for these biohackers. You could do the same with people who do the vitamin infusions. You can, all the biohacking stuff in the city, there's tons of it. And you could call up these people, and that's threefold, right? When you call up these people and because you have this local newsletter, you could call people locally. Number one is, of course, well, you're going to make a connection with the wealthy person who owns this business, who is by definition, your perfect client. And you're going to add value to them. And you're the perfect coach for them. So they might hire you. That person is then going to be really happy that they're involved in your newsletter, and they're going to share it out to their communities because it makes them look good. Well, by the way, their communities are all the wealthy people who spend a lot of money to sit in a bucket of ice for $200 an hour in a little studio in Toronto. Well, those are also your ideal people. And then the third is that once you've done this with even 4 or 5 different people who own these places, well, now you start building a community of the owners of these businesses. You could start creating Telegram chats or Slack chat groups. You could start organizing dinners where you're bringing in these people to meet each other. And now you, as the coach for wealthy men interested in longevity and biohacking in Toronto, are now the center of the entire business of the longevity biohacking community in the city of Toronto. Your newsletter only needs to be, I'd rather a newsletter like that of 300, 400, 500 people. And then if you decided to rate limiting later on, well, it wouldn't be very hard to just take the word and lop the word Toronto off of your newsletter and start interviewing people in Montreal or Chicago or New York or wherever, you know what I'm saying? That's, I think the more and more I work with people, even super high-end people who are doing $20,000+ a month, and listening to them and listening to what they want to achieve, the more I think that those types of concepts are where we need to go. Think about how profitable that business would be. Think about how little bullshit you'd have to deal with. You wouldn't, all the algorithmic bullshit on social media would be completely irrelevant to you. It just wouldn't matter. You would be completely immune from it. You would know exactly who you're contacting. People would want to contact you. And then I actually would bet you that in a very short period of time, if you wanted to, you'd be able to sell advertising space in your email newsletter. And now you're getting paid a couple $1,000 to send a newsletter. Like, this is why, like, I don't know. Am I missing something? Like, does this not make, like, why is this not happening? What am I missing?
I think everybody's got internet hangover, John. That's what I think. I think that
What does that mean?
that the scare of the pandemic and the rush to get away from in-person things has caused a lot of fear-based response in a lot of
but this is not an in-person thing. This is an online thing.
Well, it's an online thing, but still you're dealing, people have gotten away from being sort of territorially minded, right? Because they feel like they suffered that, and when the pandemic stuck up on people, and now it's like they can't revert back, right? It's like they can't unfear themselves. So everything that we talk about all the time is about, another space, some other geographical location, insulating myself in case something locally closes down. I think people just, they've got a little bit of a, COVID hangover. I hate to say the C word, bug hangover. And I see one of the challenges in business when you're not under the umbrella of a good mentoring program, or you're not working closely with a coach, one of the challenges of ownership is trying to stay away, being cautious, but staying away from basing all your decisions strictly on fear. Like, it's really easy to slip into that. And I think a lot of people try to
Tell me about that.
I think a lot of people
I have this weird thing where I just feel like I don't really
I
get
the
same way as others do.
I would say conservatively, and Amber, back me up on this, and please take the mic if you need to. Most of the challenges that I encounter with coaches that we mentor are fear-based issues. The what ifness of it all. Right?
Well, it's a fear of rejection, right? That's the big difference. When you throw spaghetti at the wall on the internet, it's not personal. But as soon as you have to talk to someone, call somebody up, or go somewhere in person, that rejection is just a million times worse. I was talking to a student earlier and talking about the episode, we were talking about the meat truck, right? And the thought of that is just atrocious, right? Like, it is terrifying.
Because you could be rejected.
Yes. Yeah. And how do you handle that? And then how do you go to the next door, right? How do you come back from that and not take it personally? Even though it's not personal, it's our baby, right? This is our business. We take it personally, even though we know we shouldn't. So I think that's definitely, it's a lot of fear-based, but also like the inability to dial in, right? Because that's the problem with a lot of the online stuff, is it's not that it doesn't work. It absolutely does, but people really struggle to dial in on their vision, on what actions they're actually taking, and then the execution of that. Because if they don't get that instant gratification of what they think should be happening, then they quit, right? And so there's a lack of vigilance, to continue through and to follow through, which is really funny, because like, what do our clients struggle with and what do we help them with?
Right.
Follow through, but we all struggle with the same damn thing, just in something different.
Huh.
Agreed.
Yeah, like one of the other guys on the hot seat, Adam, he's doing well. He's 140,000 a year, and he wants to go up to 180 this year. So he's doing pretty good, right? Mm-hmm. But he's struggling. He has all these blocks right now. And what came out was that, well, all of the clients that he has, the majority of clients that he has, he actually made the connections with them first in person. And then even if they converted, online. Like he had met them or had some connection to them in person. So how does he get people online that he's never met? And I kind of stopped. And I was just like, what, do you need to? Like, and what came out was that he was obsessing over the metrics on social media. I was like, here's what you need to know about social media. Here's what you need to know about Instagram, about TikTok, about all these places, is that the game is rigged against you. These have been designed to manipulate and addict you so that you continue to work for these systems for free. Mm-hmm. It is unbelievable how these companies have figured out how to get so many people to create free labor for them in terms of creating content to feed their system. And I mean, I create a lot of content for free for these places. So I don't think it's a net negative, but I think you have to have a reason for doing it. Mm-hmm. And even the insights that they show you, they're not the most valuable insights to show you for you. They're the most valuable insights to show you so that you keep creating shit for them.
Yes. Yes.
That's why they show the insights.
100%.
And so what I said to Adam was, if this is your pattern, well, create your social media account like your Instagram account basically as a sales page. Its job is not to generate leads. Its job is to convert leads that were generated elsewhere. And then go and do a deep dive and think about your existing clients and write down where they came from. How did they contact you? Did they look at anything beforehand? What connection did you have with these folks? Because that might give you a lot of insight into the actions that you take. Who maybe to reach out to. For him, for example, it was through a lot of connections that he had from the gym that he worked at like way back when. It's like, okay, well, if you like, what is this? What patterns are you seeing here? It seems to me as an outsider, and it's always easier as an outsider. It's like when your buddy tells you, like, asks you if you should break up with this girl or not. You're like, yeah, man, dump her. She's not good for you. And it's like, well, it's easy for you to say,
right?
You know, so it's easy for me to say, which is why I like being a mentor. But it's kind of, as an objective outsider, I could look at it and I listened to him speaking. I was like, you've told me that all of your clients have come this way and you're making $140,000 a year. And yet the vast majority of time, like this is from him, right? Like 100% of your marketing time is obsessing over the metrics of your content on social media. That has never generated a net new client. It's not to say it never will. It's not to say it's necessarily a bad thing. But to me, the pattern's pretty clear. Where should you be focusing your time? I mean, often when we meet people in real life, they go and creep us on the internet. So you do need to have like a business card on social media, right? Like it can't just be blank. It has to represent you well, but it doesn't need to be something that needs to actively generate faces of people who have never met you before. I mean, I even use this in an example in this call with the mentorship. Was like, what one of the other guys, Martin, I was like, Martin, man, you've been hanging out with me online for the last 10 years. He's been following my content for 10 years. We've been messaging back and forth. And now he's in my mentorship. 10 years. You don't. Like, maybe some people will jump on stuff quickly with social media, but like, this is, you know, if you get like, even if everything goes well and you get a big influx of followers or whatever on social media, it's like none of them know you. None of them have any reason yet to trust you or believe that you are in any way different or worth it or whatever. And it's not to say you are or you're not. They just simply don't know. And the idea that I spoke about before with the non-obvious content, I think is valuable. But also, it's nowhere, nothing you could ever do online is going to ever shake a stick at having some sort of connection with somebody. And it could be like, I went to high school with this guy, you know, like Adam went to high school with this guy who's a doctor, and the doctor has a buddy who's looking for a coach, and his buddy recommends Adam. Well, like, that buddy now has reason to trust Adam more than every single coach that exists in the world online, because there's a loose connection. Hence the idea with this local, like, longevity newsletter. It's just, it's jarring though, isn't it? What was the term that you used when?
The hangover?
Yeah, the internet hangover thing.
Yeah. It's like people just can't get themselves well. They can't rehydrate, John. they're internet dehydrated right now, and they just can't, like, you don't make good decisions when you're dehydrated. Everybody knows that. I think you're on to a great, and you may be already writing it, because quite frankly, I haven't read what you sent me yet, but I think you may be on to a great, a great thought idea, a great idea there, because people really do create content to serve the content creation platform and not serve their business. And the content creation platform rewards you for serving it, because it teaches you to think of what it rewards you for as what you should actually be doing. When in most cases, it's the opposite. I don't get a lot of virality from social media. I get a lot of clients though.
I've stopped trying.
I get clients though.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's message over metrics. Like, I'm going to keep talking about the message that I know my particular population needs to hear, that solve their problem. And the internet doesn't really reward me for that. But what I get every time I enroll is, oh, hey, Miss Johnson, how did you hear about me? Well, I saw your live broadcast. Well, I've never seen your name. Yeah, well, I don't like to like content or comment on it. I never do that. But I've been following you for the last 3 years, and your message has stayed the same. And I told my husband if I was going to ever get a coach, it was going to be like, that's the point of the for me. That's
always the lurkers. Always the lurkers.
Never the likers. Lurkers over likers. There you go, Jonathan. That's the type. That's just lurkers over likers. Brilliant, yeah, Amber. Okay. Yeah. Amber's just naming everything. Likers.
I like the spaghetti on the wall thing.
Good. Amber's just so good. You know, she waits in the corner
when her brain is firing properly.
Yeah. When she's awake, she's amazing. And listening.
Talk to me about this fear-based idea. I liked where you were going with that, and then I kind of zoned out a little bit. So maybe you talked about it more.
That's what you do.
Talk to me about the fear-based thing.
And anybody,
I didn't zone out. I'm kidding.
That's right.
I'm being a jerk. I didn't actually zone out.
Rude, John.
I know.
The one time you're not being a jerk has occurred. Thank you for saying that, John. You know, everybody's deathly afraid of making a mistake. And when I say everybody, obviously I don't mean every single human in the world.
I understand.
Yeah, but I think for the majority of what, and I can't speak for Amber, but I can assume pretty confidently, we get people who just, you hear it in their voice, you hear it in their questions, you see it in their activity. They just really don't want to make any type of mistake, because for them, the way they built it in their minds, it's every error is going to be cataclysmic instead of being informative. And when you can flip the switch from the error that I'm going to make today is going to ruin me to the error that I'm going to make today is going to inform me, I think you have a big shift in your, whatever your business is, whether it's online, in person, whatever it is, like the Meat King, right? The Meat King, you weren't the first person he ever approached, right? Oh, yeah. Would you say, yeah, for sure, right? So would you say he probably fumbled that somewhere over the course of the last 6 months to a year, or maybe 10 years ago? Who knows?
I mean, I would be willing to bet the next 5 people he approached after me probably
Indeed.
on varying degrees of said nothing to go away to no thank you to were rude.
Right. So we're vegans, you asshole. Something along those lines.
He just came out just wearing a bucket of red paint.
Right. Here's a bucket of red paint for your pitch, you fucker. But that guy knows, as most quote unquote successful business people do, that the chances you take and the challenges you encounter, those are the most informative pieces of writing business. Right. I mean, would you say, the two of you, that AppGate taught you more than probably a year of creation of this platform? Like, don't you learn the most from that?
I don't think it taught me necessarily more. I do think that I think a large part of Quick Coach's success thus far has to do with how we have responded when things have not gone well. And this has given our community, and particularly our early users, a tremendous amount of confidence in us and in the tool. Because it's inevitable when you have software, for anybody who's ever used software, it's inevitable that the software sometimes just doesn't work quite right. And most software companies are kind of not that good at communicating with people or identifying the problem quickly or whatever. They certainly don't have a community that they trust, like we do even in our Facebook group. I mean, we catch stuff fast within
a minute.
we will catch stuff usually within minutes of it happening, and it will be fixed within hours.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to say that stuff, I mean, this morning there was one of the search functionality for the tasks was causing our system to crash. And so in 2 separate areas of the site, basically, if you access them via the app would crash. Well, we got the first report of this at something like 5:40 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And this was fixed by 9:30.
Yeah, so it was early. Yeah.
It
because I answered it like while I was still waking up, still in bed. So hang on, we got it.
There was we pushed something live and the devs had a typo in the code somewhere.
Yeah.
Like that happens. Mm-hmm. But to communicate with people that quickly. And so I think I don't know if I learned a lot from it, but I do think that how you respond when things don't go well says way more about your business than how you act when things are going well.
But it's the same thing here, right? So if you get rejected, how you respond to that rejection is still an opportunity even for the person that rejected you, right? Yeah. So like if you totally walk away like dejected, or you can say like, oh, like, hey, no problem, and here's a follow-up in case you do change your mind. Leave the door open, right? Don't walk away all upset. It's not a personal judgment.
Out.
Yeah, it's
flip that shirt inside out. You won't see the red paint anymore.
I'm not sure how I feel about that visual.
It'll be on your body though.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
You now.
I'm thinking of wet paint, and it sounds terrible.
I go shirtless often, so I just take my shirt off.
That's a good way to get business.
Walk down the street with my trumpet. That's what ladies men do, John. They go shirtless with the trumpet, not the ukulele. We don't need to revisit that.
That's another image. All right.
It's bad. Yeah, that's a bad recollection.
Yeah. So I think, so to answer your question, Ryan, I think I also think that people see that. And I also think that this is weird to say, and I might not say it quite right. So I hope the idea comes out. But I feel like it is actually there's more opportunity to generate business if something doesn't go right and you respond to it well.
100%.
than
Yes.
there is if something goes well. If
Mhm.
it's, you know, like think about if you were like tangentially interested in Quick Coach. Heard about it all the time, and these idiots won't shut up about it. And I haven't started using it yet, but I'm kind of thinking of using it, but I don't know. I've used these other tools and they're really big and they're really annoying. And now I just use Google Sheets and it's not great. And my clients are annoyed by it, but fuck it. It's good enough. Right? Okay. Well, if I were to say to you, hey, Quick Coach is great, and people will be like, yeah, it's amazing. It's great. It's awesome. You should use it. Like, would that convince you to go sign up? Versus if somebody were to say, honestly, it went down last week and John and Amber were in the group that minute telling us what was going on. It was fixed within 2 hours. Look, it is incredible to be a part of this community, to be using software where the people who run this thing are so involved and give so much of a shit.
This happened to me. This happened to me, John. What you're describing literally happened to me.
How?
The ring that I wear, this Aura ring, I was talking with an online trainer academy student, and I can't remember who it was, English fellow, but I can't remember his name. And I casually mentioned, hey, I'm thinking about getting, either a Whoop strap or an Aura ring. I want to track my blah, blah, blah. And
Okay.
he put his finger close to the camera, just like this. He's like, Ren, you'll never believe, I've got one of them. He said, let me tell you what happened. I cracked it in half.
Yeah.
And these bloody fuckers, they just sent me a new one in the mail.
Yeah.
That literally happened to me. And that sold me on getting the Aura ring. He said he had a problem with it. They handled it quickly with no issue, no extra money, no need to check the warranty, none of that. And I was like, sold.
Because the fear was addressed, right? Because people don't buy because they're afraid, right? And so they're getting upfront knowledge that, hey, if something does go bad, it's going to be taken care of quickly. And that alleviates that barrier.
Put that in the book, Jonathan, because how, maybe worded a little better, but your thought process there is like, it's like, seriously.
How would I even put that in the, like,
I don't know, but just put it to the side, put it as like a note or something.
Okay,
like,
tell me what to write down. I'll write it down in my notebook.
Well, just the fact that, challenges in business sometimes provide the best opportunity for marketing. That's roundabout way to, maybe not market, but connecting with the consumer. Challenges in business sometimes provide some of the greatest opportunities to better connect with the tangential consumer. Maybe you'll flesh it out, you'll figure it out, but it's good to know. Here's why I think it's important for someone to talk about that.
I think the reason I think this isn't important to talk about in terms of like, here's how you get clients. It's like, here's why you should not be scared. To make mistakes, because actually making mistakes is a fantastic opportunity. And like you shouldn't go out of your way to make a mistake, but like shit happens. Like if you're in business for a while, like shit happens. It's going to go wrong. If you run a software company, like stuff goes wrong, like Amazon Web Services goes down. How is half of the internet? Like half of the internet is down right now. We are unfortunately included in that 50% of the internet. Like, I'm sorry, but here's how we respond to it versus somebody else. Your data is intact. Nothing to worry about. Here's what we know right now. We're going to continue to keep you updated here. Blah, 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 blah. Right. So I like that.
So can I share a suggestion here, especially around rejection? Because I get my feelings hurt incredibly easily. And so and John knows this. So I tease him about how he responds.
I have definitely hurt your feelings at times.
With Kay, is instant heartbreak. Oh, he hates me. It's terrible. Right. Yeah. And so even with texting about with Ray and stuff, I'm terrified he's gonna get onto me about something. And so it's taken me a long time. Right. And so something that has helped me significantly, and I think everybody should kind of do, is kind of create an SOP, right? And so what are you going to do and say? Plan for the rejection, and then know what you're going to do after. Because for me, it's the unknown that freaks me out. So for me, I plan for the bad thing to happen. And that way, if it does happen, I've already kind of emotionally dealt with it. And then I know exactly how I want to behave after that. My brain's not scrambling. So if you do get your feelings hurt easily, that might be a way to kind of combat that a little bit.
I love that.
What if you don't have feelings?
Then you're probably dead.
Yeah.
Would be
Or Jonathan Goodman.
It's funny because, you know, I joke about not having feelings, but I'm the biggest sappiest motherfucker you ever meet. Like so sappy. Like ask my wife. I mean, it's like, hold me.
Yeah.
I just
I've
want to
seen
be
your
held.
posts about her before. Yeah, you're definitely sappy.
So sappy. It's sad.
Those are great posts, though. Those are the best posts.
Yeah,
like I never miss one of those. Like if I see Allison in the picture,
you stop it.
Yeah, I have to stop my day right there because I gotta read what he writes.
Look, she's the real MVP. We all know this. It's not a surprise to anybody. So we're not gonna get to Jenna. I don't.
Damn it, John.
Let's talk about Jenna another time. But
I don't know if that's fair to her.
Well, I mean, it's fair to her. The idea, I'll tease it a little bit, basically.
Don't tease Jenna, John.
Jenna,
I don't like that.
Jenna, somebody had a conversation with a few days ago, and she's a new health coach, and her previous career was she's an engineer, but she was a project manager for a pipeline company in engineering projects. And long story short, her health was in shambles, and then she brought it back and had kids and has found health and has become a health coach. But she doesn't really know how to be a health coach yet. Like she's like a new health coach, right? But she has a lot of like really great experience because she's actually lived life. And so she can connect with people who have like lived real life. And I don't think that she has this like advanced knowledge, but she's very smart, very educated, a self-learner. She's done a tremendous amount of self-study. So I think that she's probably a very good health coach. But her problem is, of course, that she's charging per consult. Her consults are an hour, except it takes her 2 hours to prepare, an hour to perform the consult, and then it takes her an hour to write notes and send follow-up after the consult. So one consult takes her 4 hours. Now, in and of itself, that's not actually an awful thing. Maybe the type of service that she wants to offer, maybe that's the type of thoroughness that she wants to offer. The problem is that she's selling it per consult, and she's selling it per 60-minute consult, except she's working for 4 hours. So if she establishes her rate that she wants to earn at $200 an hour, she actually needs to charge $800 for a consult. You'd be hard-pressed to charge $800 for an hour consult if you're a health coach with no professional designation. In any way. And so the idea that I spoke to her about is like, you can't be selling consults. You have to be selling the result of the consult. And she, of course, fell into the trap that so many people do of, okay, here are the packages to work with me. You get one consult every week, and then you get this, and then you get that, and then you get that. And I just said to her, I was just like, don't put your services together like this. Because until you talk to somebody, you have no idea what they need. And also, different people might want different levels of support. For example, if I were to work with you and you told me that I had to do that, I would not work with you. I don't want to talk to you. I want somebody who I can send a text message to if I have a question. I don't want to have an hour conversation with you. I would quite literally not sign up for the service because of what you've included in it. You think that you're offering all these things, but actually what you're doing is you're building your packages based off of what you want, based off of your own ego. What you need to do is you need to start with what the client wants and provide the space to individualize it, because also over time, your clients might need different things. Some clients might need, at certain times of their life, a lot of consulting, a lot of talking on the phone with. Other points in their life, they might not. You don't charge them different amounts based off of that. Your job is to give them what they need to help solve their problem. And so I guess we talked about Jenna, but it is such a common trap to fall into. And how do you possibly sell a 60-minute consult that you're going to take 4 hours of your time to do? There's no way you can hope to not like you, for no other reason than you've created a bad business model, you will burn out and flame out of your coaching career. It kind of sucks.
Well, I'm excited about that topic for next time. That'll be fun.
I thought we just did it. Is there?
No, we gotta talk more about it. There's a lot more to talk more about it.
A lot of this comes down to ego and self-centeredness. Jenna built her package based on what she wanted to offer. Instead, she should
Don't try to
develop a
cram it,
structure that
Jonathan.
starts with what her clients need and flows from there.
You don't get to do that. Save some for everybody else. He's trying to eat all the donuts before we can get asked for one. We want some donuts. We want to participate, Jonathan.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Obvious Choice podcast. Really, really want to thank my co-hosts, Amber Reynolds and Ronald Jones, for joining me here on the podcast. Ronald Joseph. Ronald, I should know your name by now.
Tact.
Call him Ray. And I really wanted to thank you two for joining me today. Always a pleasure. And thank you. We'll see you next time.